That's you? Did you say you kissed a girl?
He was singing Katy Perry.
You should be I kissed a boy and I liked it if you're gonna sing the song.
I switched the lyrics. I said, I hope that my wife don't.
No, that's when you sing I kissed a boy and I liked it. Hope my girlfriend don't mind it. Because the whole point of the song is she's a girl kissing a girl saying her book. Come on, Scott, do I have to educate you on everything?
But see, I'm married, and that would be really in trouble if I kissed a boy and then I have a girlfriend on top of having a wife.
Jerry, intro right now. Jerry, intro right now. This has to go right into the intro.
This week on this week's episode of Positively Godless, Tyler says absolutely zero ums. Scott gets bleeped no less than 15 times, and we talk about the gay agenda.
Sure.
Crazy. Over under feeling crazy. It was no wonder you're just making me crazy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Positively Godless. This is just Jerry. I'm here with Scott Lawrence and Tyler Sulander, and we are going to be talking about the gay agenda. Part of it anyway. Or part of it anyway today. I do believe that we have a little bit of show recap from last week, and Scott wants to talk about some things before we get into the topic. So, Scott, take it away.
It's not all about me. It's all about all of us. It's all about everybody. Thank you guys for watching previous episodes.
Wait, Scott, it's not all about you?
Well, it usually is.
When, I was going to say, when did this change?
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you for making episode 2 our best episode ever. I mean, that was our best episode ever.
It absolutely was. I totally agree.
Judging by the views, it wasn't, but still, it was our best episode ever.
That's because you didn't view it 132 times.
I know, I didn't. But I listened to the song, I wrote it. Anyway,
more crickets.
More sound effects in this episode. I'm telling you, you know what I mean? Yeah, I got some comments. We got some. I want to go back to Jerry. I think you do too. I want to address this one right off the bat regarding the ableist again. This is not the ableist episode. Just so you know, but I want to say the song was written about a girl. It was just about a girl. And I thought it fit in with the show. So that's
because this show is all about a girl.
Yeah.
We're not trying to discriminate against anybody.
No.
No, I do have to agree, and I don't know if you're going to read the entire comment, but I do have to agree with the fact. No, okay, that's fine. But the fact that the definition was pulled from Urban Dictionary, I even questioned that one.
Well, then I went ahead and looked at it, and the ableist comments, and one of the words in the ableist was crazy, and it doesn't mean that we think that religious people are crazy or anything like that. It's just stuff that drives us crazy. It's a common term. Like, oh my God, my wife says it all the time. You're driving me crazy.
Well, that's also not a surprise for anyone.
Right. You drive me crazy, and we're how many states away from each other?
It's because you love me. So I want to kind of get into a couple comments. I don't know what. There's so many comments. Leslie commented back, and she's fantastic. We just love her. There's another shout out for Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie.
This is from Headcase. You guys read this one?
I've been busy, so busy with my new job. I haven't been. I'm sorry, I haven't been able to keep up with comments.
That's all right. I didn't get a chance to highlight this. So I'm going to try to read it and enunciate it better than I did last week. It says, I agree with your comments about the memorial, but I have to ask, do we allow every school across the country to erect memorials for every teacher who has died or those who just lost their lives tragically? That's a freaking great question.
Why not?
I think that's a whole nother episode.
Well, I can't dismiss the guy's question, though.
Well, no, I'm not saying that we dismiss it, but I think it's a very good debate topic, and I think that some of the stuff that we talked about last week, we left some things either unanswered or untouched, and I kind of wanted to dive a little bit more because our email group that the three of us are a part of, with both non-believers and believers, brought up, I guess, some more discussion along those lines, which again, as a part of these episodes, and what we want to do is we want to create discussion. We want to do it in a positive light, and we don't want to be trashing one another, or in this case, trashing the honor of a teacher. But where do those lines get crossed? And this is another good example of: do we build a monument for every single teacher?
Treasure.
Well, teacher, whether they die of old age or whether they die of tragic consequence, and where is that line? But in this case, again, it goes back to the discussion that we had last week, that this was not something that was built by the school. This was something that was built by friends and family to honor the memory of this teacher who impacted so many lives.
And also, sorry to interrupt you, but the teacher passed away 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, the stink is happening. I think that's where we were at.
That was definitely the bigger conversation about last week, or that we had last week, was about the fact that it took this long. And Scott, you had some choice words about it, which I totally agree with. But I think overall that whole discussion could be another episode, and it doesn't have to be just relegated to a teacher who died. If it's anybody else that had an impact in their community and they happen to be religious, again, whether it's Christian, Hindu, Muslim, I mean, whatever it may happen to be, where do you draw that line? Where does that, in front of a school or a library or a courthouse or in somebody's front yard? I mean, we have all of these things where people are even protesting their neighbors putting up a nativity scene. I mean, it gets so ridiculous.
How many times do we see crosses on the freeway or the highway of people who maybe lost their lives in that intersection or in that guardrail or whatever it is? You know what I mean? Are we protesting that next? Leave it be.
Right.
I don't know. Leave it be.
I agree, and again, I don't want to dismiss the comment at all, but I think that it certainly bears a larger discussion and could occupy a whole nother episode. So
yeah, we will. And one more comment, just because I thought that was cool. This came from Facebook, from Charles. We all saw it, I'm sure. Just a real quick comment. He just said, I'm from Centerville, Minnesota, North Metro of the Twin Cities. I was raised Catholic. I was very conservative and spoke out very hard against gays in the military when Clinton was first president. I am now an atheist due to many life events, realities, medical issues that I've experienced. That was just cool. Just to say, here's my backstory. I want to share it with you. So just, Charles, cool shout out. Thank you for reaching out to us.
I don't know if you... I'm sorry, I don't know if you checked out, because I try to, whenever somebody comments on the Facebook page, if their page is open enough, I try to take a glance at their Facebook page, and I do believe his Facebook page, he had said that on there he was a disabled veteran.
Oh, thank you for your service. Seriously.
So
thank you for your service.
I'm almost positive it said that on there. Tyler, are you looking for that or?
Nope.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were.
No, if that's the case,
if
Charles,
that's the case, thank you. My brother's in the Marines. He's been there for almost 5 years. He signed back up for another 5 years. I worry about him every day. My sister was in the army. My grandfather was in the military. I mean, I have military and my runs throughout my family. So anybody in the military, it just gains my respect. So,
and if it's not for the military, we can't do what we do. So, hats off to our military, the people in the service. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak freely and defending that right that we have as Americans. So,
absolutely, I totally agree.
Which would bring us to the topic.
One other, I want to throw in two things real quick.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't know how many people have actually ended up staying through and watching the entire episode. At the end, we do have a list of our different social media backgrounds that you can reach us at, one of which is our Facebook page, another of which is our Twitter account, which currently has
I forgot about that.
0 followers. And I have just been tweeting out when the new episodes are available. I would love to get that going more and get a discussion going back and forth between that. You can find us on Twitter at Godless. It wouldn't let us do. There was too many characters to do at Positively Godless, so it's at Godless. But again, we'd love to interact through that medium as well, even though it's only 140 characters. But if you are a Twitter buff, there's that as well. The other thing that I just wanted to bring up real briefly, because I included it in last week's episode at the tail end, we typically record our show a couple days ahead of time, obviously, because there needs to be editing and time to get it posted. Sunday morning is our post time, but we recorded last week's episode Thursday night, and then Friday morning, everybody found out the news about Leonard Nimoy passing on, and I included a still shot quote and some text regarding that. But I just wanted to quickly bring up a pioneer in an industry where things went from just being that typical shows on TV about real life to the show that gave people the imagination and the hopes and the dreams that anything was truly possible. And anybody that knows me knows how much of a Star Trek nerd that I am just in general. But somebody like him who helped to pioneer this era of free thinking and Star Trek having the first interracial kiss on television and some of these groundbreaking things that the hope for the future that we can all live in a unified society where all of our end goals are one, to make our life and our society and everything better. Just wanted to give a shout out to that, since we didn't find out about that until the day after we recorded. So that's all I've got. We can absolutely dive into our topic now.
Jerry,
ready?
What's the topic? Because I want to go ahead and tell us what the topic is, but I want to start it off a little bit, if you don't mind. Because
you want to start it off?
Well, I don't want to. No,
all of this stuff.
No. Go ahead. No, I'll save it for later. Go ahead.
Okay.
Because I'm all. You think I was mad last week?
So one of the things that we talk about, and I hate to always refer back to our email chain, but one of the things that we talk about that brought me on the email chain is the gay agenda. The gay agenda, to me, I've not found anything that really tells what the gay agenda is. It's a hugely general term and can encompass so many topics. It's the most heated or talked about is marriage. So I decided that I wanted to talk about this single topic to keep this week's episode a little bit more focused. I Googled gay agenda. I Googled a bunch of other things. I came up with a website, which will include in the description this week's episode. Unconstitution.net. I found it interesting. The headline on this was something like, "What you think is in the Constitution that really isn't." So I learned one key thing. ladies and gentlemen, contrary to popular belief, marriage is not addressed in the Constitution at all. It's not. I don't know. I'm not going to repeat it.
One more time.
What I did learn is that each religion had its own reasons for the definition of marriage: procreation, family, establishing presumed paternity, because back in the day, there was no such thing as DNA. Everybody just assumed that when a man and a woman had a baby, the woman said, this person is the father, and that was it. And community. Though this list is not comprehensive or exhaustive, marriage is not needed to achieve these goals any longer either. I mean, we can have communities, we can have paternity, we can have all these things without marriage. With each individual's religion's benefits, government saw this and created civil marriage. And they decided that they needed their own kind of benefits for this, and that this is where we got secular marriage, secular being administered by the state. You know, the state gave the church the ability to perform the ceremony, and thus the civil marriage became effective when you were married by your religion. Sorry if I'm getting lost here. It's a lot
That's
for
all
me
right.
to cover.
Well, we'll have time to discuss it. You know, definitely.
Now, I'm sorry, I lost myself.
You'll find yourself.
Religious marriage automatically resulted in secular marriage, and as a convenience, not have to perform two ceremonies to receive both benefits. However, civil marriages do not need a church and a priest to be administered. That's my point. My thoughts on this, because I recently got married. Not recently, a little over a year and a half ago.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was so romantic. After the Supreme Court had ruled DOMA unconstitutional, we were in the car and we heard it on the radio. And I mean, this is just a couple days later. We were on the way to see Man of Steel. We're going again to a movie with my mother.
Is that about Superman?
Yes, it was the most recent Superman movie. Yeah, really, Scott. And I was driving. It came on the radio, and I turned to my partner at the time. I said, "Hey, I have off on Monday. You want to go to New York and get married?" And he said, "Sure." So we went to New York and got married.
That's just that easy. Wow.
It was. It was.
And Scott, think of all of the planning that you had to put into your wedding.
Kidding.
And proposing and all that. Yeah, no.
I cried like a baby.
Well, I mean, you proposed. Well, oh, Scott, you did cry like a baby. It was beautiful.
Because I love. I do.
I love my thoughts.
I love all my wives.
So, I understand how the definition of one man and one woman can be seen as the solid and unchangeable legal definition, since marriage started in religion and not government, and this is how religion defined it. I get it. However, I don't know anyone who gets married religiously that doesn't think that it should be recognized legally. Well, if you want your religious marriage to be recognized by your government so that you can have your legal benefits, you must get a license from the state, right? The state, being in charge of who gets a license, can deny the license to anyone they want. What if they said, no, you can't have a license because John has blonde hair and Jane has red hair? See, the state can give marriage any definition it wants, as the state is the entity providing the benefits of that legal contract. Certainly, Keep holy matrimony, the religious sacrament, and define it how you wish. Just let the state give its own definition to marriage, the civil contract. I don't understand how any religion can say that it loves all people in one breath, and in the next breath cannot love someone because they are gay.
But isn't that, and Scott, I know there's stuff that you want to go into.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what you just brought up? Change the phrasing that you just said about the state and change that to Christianity as an example.
Mm-hmm.
How can somebody, as a Christian, follow the 10 Commandments and love? Don't get me started, Scott.
I'm started.
How can you love thy neighbor, but not love them if they're gay?
That's my point. That's my biggest question. My biggest question. I mean, I don't know. That's the question. That's the question that I've asked in the email that never got answered. That's the question that was asked on the radio that never got answered.
Here's what, people. I'm sorry. This is from an evangelical Christian. There is a gay agenda, and many times gay leaders have said they want full access to kids at schools to indoctrinate them about their lifestyle or to at least accept them. This was again the case in Northern California, where the parents were unaware that the school didn't tell them that Planned Parenthood was talking to kids about having sex, 13 to 14 years old, and about transgender. Again, a clear plan to indoctrinate our kids on values I don't believe in or think are virtuous. So if you want your son, talking about my kid, by the way, want your son learning that, that's your business. But I don't want for my children or grandchildren. I'm dealing with the listeners whose kids are already screwed up as the parents are letting the two boys dress and encouraging them to be transgender, wearing dresses at home. Please tell me, Scott, how this is going to help those boys in life. Evangelical Christian. Thoughts? I didn't swear.
Not this time. Not this time. Ooh.
Crickets, man. I mean, we've all read this email. We've all seen this email. I'm sure there's more to the email, but that was the one that I wanted to pick out. So, because we can talk about this topic. Obviously, Jerry, you don't have kids, but Tyler, you do, and I do. I have a son as well. Gavin, shout out. Are you happy now? You got a shout out? Because he was all pissed off that I was like, you didn't give me a shout out. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm 5 minutes in. I'm like, it's an hour long. So I get a little testy when they start talking about my child. When you don't know anything about my child and what he believes and doesn't believe. But
We're not going to schools trying to recruit your children.
So what's the gay agenda?
Contrary to popular belief, we're not. There's no leader. We don't have somebody up there sitting in a chair. We don't have somebody in an office saying, you have to bring us 3 people every month that you converted from being straight to being gay.
Right.
I'm not tasked with that, I'm not tasked with that task. I mean, nobody's told me that. I don't walk around every day trying to get people to be gay. What the gay agenda in the media is to define media.
Well, you got to define the media here.
I mean, technically, we're the media now.
We are. But what I mean is,
are you talking about the lamestream media, or are you talking about Fox News?
Well, I mean, anybody who's talking about it. I mean, news outlets, radio, television.
I appreciate that because you're keeping it non-specific, and that's cool. I like that.
I appreciate you keeping it non-specific. I'm not going to do that.
I mean, I can't say that Fox isn't media and CNN is, or
Fox.
Well, it's one thing, and again, everybody's going to have a certain bias, but when you are a media outlet that
makes up your stories,
that makes up your stories and straight up lies.
Look at his cup. I'm sorry.
I drink from a Superman cup every day.
Go on,
Tyler.
My coffee's in a Superman
and I apologize for getting off the positively track, and maybe we can have an episode of just rants, and I'll go on for an hour about Fox News. But in any case, going back to the email, Scott, and somebody encouraging their child to be transgender. There's a difference between, and I'm not saying that there's not extremism on this side of the issue as well. Sure, I'm sure there's probably some parent out there that really wishes that they would have had a girl instead of a boy, and they force them to wear a dress. I'm sure that there's probably some extreme example of this. But when talking about the middle-of-the-road, normal human being who is just trying to do best by their child, and if that child decides that they want to wear a dress, or they want to wear a pink shirt, or they even want to wear a bracelet on their wrist, let them do it. Okay, I have a 6, almost 7-year-old son, and you know what one of the things that he wanted for Christmas was? It's right here. I actually have it. Okay? It's right here. Okay?
Cool.
Right? This is a bracelet maker.
This is a new segment for you for show and tell.
No, but seriously, I'm sitting here at my table, you know, and I have some friends that I know that, quite frankly, they would freak out if they knew that my son had something like that.
Why?
But you know what? Because boys should be playing with action figures and cars and G.I. Joes and
I played with all that when I was a kid.
Right, but the whole point is because if it's a rainbow loom,
dun dun dun.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big issue, and I think that's awful. I think it's absolutely horrible, and it is one thing to encourage or force somebody, especially a minor, to do something that's against their will. I mean, in most states, things are going to be illegal when you get into that realm. But what I'm trying to get at is that the general feeling within the email that you just read, Scott, was that these boys decided that they wanted to do something, and their parents said, okay, that's what you want to do. I'm not going to force you into a stereotype.
Part of the email, I'm calling. So, crap.
Well, there's a bleep.
Anyway,
out of that.
I'll seriously call it on it. Just because I said BS.
Yeah. Can I tell you, they say that word on network television on primetime now, by the way.
And
and the a-hole word, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? No, yeah. I still don't think network.
But I like the bleeps, though.
Not ABC, CBS, and NBC, but on USA and on
cable. Yes, cable.
That's network.
That. Well, that's not network. Okay. Getting off track.
Okay. Good gosh.
So, not to get straight, get off the track or anything, but Rainbow Loom is cool as heck. First of all,
you can say hell, Jerry.
You're teaching your child colors. You're teaching them motor skills. because they have to put the thing in and blah, 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 blah. You're teaching them creativity. You're teaching him how to think. You're teaching all kinds of skills.
And at the end of it, you have a cool bracelet to wear.
Right. So, you have something, and then he can be proud of that. He could say, I did this with my own 2 hands. I had a wood burning kit when I was a kid. Can you find that in Toys R Us anymore?
I don't think so.
No. Why? But if he had a wood burning kit available, would you got that for him?
I had a wood burning kit when I was a kid.
If he wanted it, and that's the thing, is that it's not going to come down to, I'm not going to get a whole bunch of stuff. And don't get me wrong, he has plenty of toy cars and Legos and all of this other stuff that would be classically described as boy toys versus girl. And one of the specific requests that we got for Christmas this year was, I don't really care what you get me as long as they're not girl toys. I mean, and that consciousness is there at 6 years old. That's already been ingrained into his head, the difference between boys and girls and what that means.
Yeah, and you're kind of leading to the next topic for the following week, too, which we're going to talk about.
Sure, but Scott, I want to go back. I want to go back real quick in terms of what you were going to say about the email and about what you were calling BS on in the email.
I'm calling BS on the whole. I'm dealing with a listener with 2 kids that are already screwed up as parents by letting their boys dress and encouraging them to be transgender. I think that's a little exaggerated.
I think that's a lot exaggerated.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the guy who wrote the email is going to be a guest on our show. We're not mentioning his name. But hang on. What are you eating? What?
Meat.
Okay. I got Chinese upstairs waiting for me.
It's homemade kielbasa.
Okay. So, I mean, when we're talking about
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding with you. I don't care. No one's watching anyway. So, I was kidding. But, I mean, I'm calling BS. I mean, sure, there's probably a situation kind of like that, but it's the whole situation of, I have an inch, I'm going to take a yard.
Or a mile.
Or a mile in this.
Look, everybody's going to see whatever they're going to see. They're going to see it in their own way.
All right, so Jerry, Jerry, this is your show.
Normal.
This is your show. As a gay man, I just outed you in front of 5 people.
Stop telling everybody I'm gay.
Tell me what the gay agenda is. So people.
I don't know.
You're gay. You must have an agenda. Let's hear it. I'm waiting.
The only thing what I was trying to say, with the media is, because actually I heard this actually the day before yesterday. I listened to, I have Sirius XM in my car. There's a host that I listened to. He used to be on the Gay Talk radio station, and now he's on Sirius Progress, which is channel 127. His name is Michelangelo Signorelli. He's been around for quite a number of years as a gay activist, and he's written a number of books, and he's had his radio show. He's all over. He said it best. The gay agenda isn't what people are making it out to be. It's the same agenda as women had when they wanted their rights. It's the same agenda as, African Americans had when they wanted their rights. It's the same agenda as anybody had when they fought during their suffrage for whatever rights that they wanted when they were discriminated against. It's not that we are going into schools and trying to indoctrinate children. It's not that he said, because a caller had asked, well, if a man wanted to marry 3 women, would you be for that? He said, it's not the same thing. it would be the same thing if if that specific group of people were being targeted and beat up and put in hospitals and killed and because of their belief or what they wanted to do. Like African Americans were being targeted and beat up and gays are being targeted and beat up. It's that, and but he said if this were the case, yes. Now, when people talk about marriage equality, because I hate gay marriage. It's not gay marriage. It's marriage equality. I'm not gay married.
You're married.
Ellen said,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not
and I want to
gay
talk about that
married.
quickly too.
I'm
The
married,
Ellen thing. Yeah, you're
but
married. You're married just like I'm married.
but um, I forgot what I was gonna say.
I screwed that up for you.
Way to go, Scott.
Thank you. But
When
I think you did reply to that email that I just read to everybody, and you basically said the same thing, but you also added who's indoctrinating who, and I'm kind of paraphrasing.
right? Oh yeah.
So I mean I don't want to look at my computer because
No. I'll tell you. I mean, I can't tell you verbatim what I said, but I'll tell you what I say pretty much all the time. I'm not going out trying to get people to be gay, but every time I turn around, I have any number of people trying to get me to convert to Christianity, Jehovah's Witness, whatever religion or whatever belief system they think that I should believe. But the second that I challenge it or tell them that I'm gay and that might conflict with their beliefs or the beliefs of their church or their leadership, then it goes back to last week when we were talking about, oh, you're lost.
right, and we'll cover that.
It sounds like these people that you've been talking to have an agenda. I don't know. It's
Exactly.
just my observation.
To me, in my experience, I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak from my experience, but I'm not the one with the agenda. The ones with the agenda are the ones that are accusing me of having the agenda.
Yeah.
I don't have an agenda. I just want to live my life happily.
And
I
you
want to be married to my husband. I want to have my life. Hopefully, down the road, if we have the means and the place and the space, maybe to adopt a child or whatever. But right now, my life is happy. My life is peaceful, and you know I just want to make sure that it stays that way. And if I can help to make it better for others, I want to do that as well.
So they're thinking that gay marriage they can't. One of the things in the Bible is procreation. So are you saying you should ban marriage for people who are sterile?
Or people who have no intention of having children.
Right. Yeah, it's a number of things. It boggles my mind. Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler. Hi.
I'm here.
Hi. You froze for a second.
I'm here. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to freeze.
Wish you would.
Thoughts? So positive, Scott. You're so positive.
Oh, I'm positive to our listeners. I'm not
No,
necessarily.
I have a question.
Oh, here we go. Good.
What about those believers and divorce?
I've been divorced.
Well, I mean, you don't believe.
Right. Isn't it true that the evangelicals have the higher divorce rate than non-believers?
I mean, I can't speak to statistics because I haven't looked them up, so I
don't
can't
know either. I heard that. I'm not going to say it as fact because when you say it as fact, you get in trouble.
Unless you actually have a source, and I'm not gonna put a fact out there that I can't source.
Right, and I agree with you.
But I do know that in most religions, it is frowned upon. And if you are married and you get divorced, then you are no longer allowed to be part of the church. However,
that I don't know.
However, I do know quite a number of
That
people.
you're talking about mostly what used to be a common practice in, I believe, the Catholic Church of excommunication. If you got to work again, I don't want to. I'm not a theological expert, and I would love
we're gonna
to have
research
one.
this before we.
Oh, I would love to have
It's just I
somebody
want
on
to
the
throw
show.
it out there.
One of the things that we talked about, and I just want to make this clear for anybody who has continued watching up to this point.
Wow, confidence.
Is that coming from the person who said that all 5 viewers? That's insulting. That's very insulting, and I apologize.
Stop insulting your co-host, Scott.
I apologize for Scott.
I apologize for Tyler.
The 3 of us.
Out of the 3 of us.
Scott has the most to work on. In terms of being positive.
Scott.
Jerry. You were saying, Tyler, go ahead.
I'm done.
Don't quit.
The thing is, the thing, but that kind of goes back to, like, what you were saying, it goes back to the old days, I mean, like, if they can pick and choose what part they're going to believe in and live by now, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can, you know what I'm saying? Do you get what okay.
You lost me. Sorry.
The whole shellfish thing, the Bible says you
can't. Yeah. The Bible says that, if you eat shellfish, you should be put to death, but, if you're homosexual, you should be put to death. Right. Eating shellfish right now.
Right. I know us saying that, it sounds lame. Like, you're going to say shellfish. I mean, people say that all the time. That's such an argument.
No. I brought that up to him, and he didn't understand what I was talking about. So there you go. You pick and choose your Bible.
Right. So, I mean, there it is. Not here to offend anybody, me, but, it's just like, how can you say one? Hypocrisy makes me so mad. It just makes me mad.
I totally agree. And one of my biggest things is, how can a book that was supposedly written 2,000 years ago, but has really been... No, the book itself...
4,000?
Well, I guess if you're talking about the Old Testament, I was thinking more about the New Testament.
Okay, go ahead.
But I guess the Old Testament is where most of that comes to play. But really, it's, again, I'm not an expert on this, so I can't quote actual scientific findings, but plenty of things that have proven that the books of the Bible were written well after Jesus' death, which is going to put them closer to 1,000 to 1,500 years old. And it amazes me how nobody on that side has thought about, okay, if you sit down in a circle and you play a game of telephone, you have 10 people in a circle and you play that old kids game of telephone, by the time that message gets around, and this isn't a matter of, 2-3 minutes, how distorted that message can get. And now you're talking about 300 to 500 years before it's actually written down on paper.
Just a correction. It's actually 50 years, 40 to 50 years after Jesus' death that the Bible was written.
40 to 50, 400
well,
to 500.
We have undocumented authors, just to be clear, that we have,
if I do believe correctly, and again, if there's any sort of biblical expert that can come on and attest to this, I would love it. No, I honestly would love to have this on. But from what I remember, certain things, for example, like the apostles' letters and things like that, were written actually during their lifetime and have been dated back to that point. But until the the Church of, I don't remember if it was the Roman Empire or if that by that point it was the rise of the Catholic Church in England or whatever. I don't remember, but it wasn't until like between like 3 and 500 AD that they actually sat down and put everything together. And that's what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay.
Whether or not, I mean, like certain point. No, not. And again, this is where I'm not an expert in this, so I'm not quoting fact here. This is just what I remember. But in any case, whether that's happening 500 years down the road or 50 years down the road, at that point, if it doesn't really matter, because the amount that's been distorted or, I guess, embellished. You know how we all have those stories that, you know, we were out with the guys, you know, whatever. And before you know it, there's more and more details being added to it to embellish the story and make it more tough and macho and all, like all that kind of stuff. How did that not happen with the biblical, words of Jesus and things like that, or even the Old Testament, which is even older than that? How did all of that not get distorted in any way? It's not possible that...
What is distorted?
Well, not according to anybody who believes in it. According to anybody who believes in it, that the Word of God is true in the Bible. All of it is true.
Right, but contradiction in the Bible is a different topic on its own, too.
It is.
I mean, we can definitely... I'd like to hammer that out, on a separate topic, rather than Jerry's topic.
I agree, Jerry. I didn't mean to hijack your topic. I'm sorry,
no. I don't think that.
So, what do you think, Jerry? I mean, anything else you want to add?
I mean, I just have a few more things. I mean, a few more things I want to say. I mean,
go ahead.
I have one other thing I want to bring up before we do any sort of wrap up.
Okay.
I mean, if Scott, that's where you were going, I'm sorry, but I'm not done yet.
No, I'm not going. I'm just, I like the whole thing of who's gonna snap.
This is a really heated topic for me. I have.
That's for me too. That's why I brought Jerry on.
Sure. Well, that's why you brought him into the email group to begin with. But yeah, no, I totally agree. But I wanted to bring up real quick because it just happened yesterday. And there's already apologies out there. And whatnot.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Ben Carson.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to try and keep it as positive as possible. But this is one of the things that just really gets me going. And there's an article on CNN, and it covers... Basically, the gist of the story is prisons prove that being gay is a choice. And it's a lifestyle choice, and it's not something... you're not born that way.
Jerry, I want to hear your thoughts on this article, because I know you read it, and I read it too, but
I heard briefly about this story.
And...
Did you read the whole thing, or did you?
I heard. I'm not gonna lie. I heard the headline. The headline stating that this guy is saying that, and I heard a sound bite of somebody saying that people go into prison being straight and come out gay, and I thought. WTF?
What does that mean?
Are you kidding me? I'm not going to curse.
So
I don't need no pal symbols over my mouth.
So, because a lot of people who go into prison straight, and when they come out, they're gay. So, did something happen while they're in there? Ask yourself that question.
Yeah. No. I know. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say to that. Like, how do you get to that? what station did that train leave on, and what track did it get on to get to the station that it got to? What, like, what train of thought was he on when he
all right.
made that statement?
I'm gonna wait 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, this statement was made by a black person, and I saw this this Facebook or an instant message saying the person said, "Oh, I'm so sick of seeing the gays on TV because my children see that and I don't want them to be gay." And the response was, "I'm so sick of seeing the blacks on the TV because I don't want my kids to be black." And I'm paraphrasing, and they says, "Kids can't choose to be black." And they says, "Yes, now do you know how stupid you sound?" And again, I'm paraphrasing, but Tyler, you've seen this before, right? Gary, have you seen this?
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, I haven't really been up
That
on
was
this
like
as much as I want to be.
Yeah, it was like a Facebook, it was like a text message or something like that. And that's how stupid this guy sounds. I've heard it on our Minneapolis radio station saying, "Oh, we need to block websites so kids don't get exposed by the gay." And I'm like, and that was actually that wasn't that the show I was on, and that was the segment before I was on being interviewed. I think, not to do a plug, but it's I'm impressed. Oh, there's your bleep again. But no, that statement is really true, and this is coming from an African American saying this about people who've been in prison. You're gonna come out gay? What's wrong with you, you idiot?
Now, to be fair,
Oh,
no. Well, I'm trying. I totally agree with so much of this, and it really strikes to the core of where, for me, there are so many things that have happened in my life and so many people that I have known that, again, I go back to the mindset of, if I was my father, I would have completely disowned these people.
Right.
You people, Jerry. No. But I mean, seriously, I mean, it's just one of those things that I look back and I think about and I go, how could anybody be this discriminatory? And I look at, again, the cultural shifts of whether it's women's suffrage or whether it is the civil rights movements in the 60s and things like that. And I think about what I grew up in and what people, older generations, a very brief sidebar, my 107-year-old great-grandmother, who is still alive.
Ooh.
Damn.
Bless her soul.
Careful.
In 2008, she was asking my grandmother and my mother about the presidential candidates at that time, who were John McCain and Barack Obama. And she wasn't sure if she should vote for Barack Obama because he's colored. Now, again, not that I am excusing that in any way whatsoever, but she's 107 years old.
Yeah, but it's the generational thing, yeah.
Right, and think about when she was born in 1907, and she grew up in the 20s, and all that kind of, the type of world that she lived in back then,
and everything that she's seen.
Right, and now, and then, and her, I mean, when she turned 18, at that point, women still didn't even have the right to vote.
She couldn't vote. She probably couldn't even drive. She probably wasn't even allowed to drive.
Probably not. And so for her to go through the complete women's suffrage movement and then to go through the civil rights movement and all that kind of stuff. But that it's a part of me that, as I think about my children growing up and growing up in the world that they live in, and I don't ever want them to experience the discrimination and the I guess the bias and the hurtful talk and the thinking that I went through. At least not to the extent. I mean, it's always going to be there.
It's always going to be there.
It's always going to be there. But they're going to grow up, and God, I hope that at some point the federal court, and I was just reading earlier today that the Supreme Court is taking on some case about making marriage, again, I don't want to call it gay marriage. I want to, marriage for everybody equal. And I hope that that's a world that they can grow up in, because I wouldn't want them to grow up in a world where women don't have the same rights, where African Americans don't have the same rights. Where
I love the argument. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that means that dogs can get married to humans. Remember that we heard? God, I'm sorry that we heard.
Seriously, Scott. I'm sorry. So much bleeping I have to do. And it's all you.
I
know.
They still make that argument. I still hear it. Do you have Sirius XM? Do you have?
No, I mean, I don't know why I don't have it.
It costs money. I mean, I get it.
Well, no, I don't have it. It's not an option on my car, and I can't believe it's not an option on my car. I have everything else in the damn car.
That's true. I had it for 6 months and I didn't renew it. Now a message from our sponsor, Sirius XM.
You have a sponsor now?
You can get online listening too with just you can just pay for online and listen to it on the computer in the app. If you choose, you can, if you want to listen to.
Yeah, no, that's true. I do remember.
My wife will let me do that.
Anyway, all right. Again, we have strayed so far off topic, which I absolutely
How long
love.
are we going for?
We're
pretty much at the end.
Yeah, we're coming up on an hour here. But before we wrap up,
Jerry's got to wrap it up.
Jerry does have to wrap it up, but I want to go back to this Ben Carson thing real quick, because there was something in this article that, Jerry, I want you to specifically comment on it. I just want to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
As far as what he said in this interview.
Okay, shocking.
So this is
use the bleep on Jerry, for God's sake.
This is from the CNN website. And they actually retracted the previous article and they replaced it with the apology. But they included... I know. Well, but the thing was, CNN was the one that originally posted it. Then, of course, Carson went on to Hannity's radio show this morning. Exactly. That was my response. And he was going off about, I should never talk about this stuff ever. I should never do a pre-taped interview, especially with the liberal media, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. That's a whole other topic. It's a whole... And that's not even religion. But anyway, it's a whole other topic. So, in his original article, and here's from the CNN article, quote, Carson also said he believes the issue of allowing or restricting same-sex marriage should be decided on the state level rather than by the federal courts. Excuse me. Even as the Supreme Court prepares to take up a case this spring that could legalize gay marriage nationwide. That's where I got that portion from. He said it's possible to grant the legal rights that accompany marriage to same-sex couples or to any two people at all without applying the word marriage to their relationships. Now, this is a quote from him. Why do gay people get married? Why do they say they want to get married? Because they want to have various rights. Property rights, visitation rights, he said. Why can't any two human beings, I don't care what their sexual orientation is, why can't they have the legal right to do those things? That does not require changing the definition of marriage. So in a sense, end quote, that was the done. In a sense, he was actually kind of standing up for it in a way, but didn't want to label it marriage.
What do you want to label it?
What, civil union or what?
Civil union? I don't know.
I hate civil union. No, I hate it.
I know you do.
Sure. And this is why I wanted to get your opinion on it, because the whole show was supposed to be on the marriage issue.
No, it's fine. We covered a lot.
A big part of this that I wanted, two things. Number one, do you think that it's a state issue or do you think that it's a federal issue?
It's both.
Number two,
okay,
I'm gonna let you respond to both.
It's getting heated. I love it.
And it is both. Why do they say they want to get married? Because they want to have various rights, property rights, visitation rights. I want your response on that as well.
Okay.
Did you, Jerry? Did you get married because you want to have certain property rights and visitation rights?
I mean, eventually, property rights for eventually if my husband and I buy a house. Look,
was that the reason you want to get married?
Well, I mean, I love my husband. I love my husband, and we needed certain legal protections between the two of us.
Okay.
That only the federal government could provide. Okay. I'm not willing to divulge that information here, but that's because it's personal. It's not
That's
for
fine.
the whole world to know. The federal government, the Supreme Court of the United States, they addressed that issue in June of 2013 or 14 when I got married last year. Right? No, I've been married for a year and a half, so almost 2 years. So 2013, when they made the ruling in the case with Edie Windsor.
Yep.
They don't need to rule again. They already recognize all legal marriages, whether they are between a man and a woman, a man and a man, and a woman and a woman. I don't know what they're talking about now. I guess I have to go research that.
The individual states still have a choice to recognize, and I think what they're talking about going forward is that if whatever the Supreme Court decides in the future is that then it would no longer even be an option at the state level, because if the state banned it, they would be going against the federal law at that point.
I don't know that the federal government has the ability to override the state constitution.
Oh, they absolutely do. Federal government. This one I can actually go back.
Educate me on that, right?
No, I can actually go back to my AP government class, Mr. Deppner, if you're out there watching. But no, in this case, in terms of, and this goes back now even to take the whole marijuana legalization issue.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, states have overridden that, and they have said, okay, marijuana is not illegal in our state, but it's still a federal crime.
Right.
And if it comes down to it, the federal, if somebody is actually arrested on that possession and they are charged in federal court, then that charge will actually stand. Even though it's not a state crime to do it, it's still a federal crime to do it. So no matter what, if there are two conflicting laws, the federal portion of it always overrides the state portion.
Okay.
So if the federal government, whether that's the Supreme Court or Congress or whatever happens to pass something, if states underneath tried to do something, it would be either unconstitutional if they passed a constitutional amendment, or it would be against federal law, which again, in that case, a state could bar same-sex marriage, but they would be breaking a federal law by doing it. So they could still break it, and they could still have something in their bylaws or their constitution or whatever it might happen to be, but it would be, if it's in their constitution, it would be unconstitutional for the state to do that. So,
okay. All right. So good. The federal government is stepping up to the plate then, I guess. So yeah, I don't even know where my brain's at right now. No, I think what we should allow to happen is the states give it a little bit more time for the states to make their decision. I don't think, which I've never, even since I was 13, 14, 15 years old, that it should be a ballot decision, and I don't think it should be up for popular vote. Just because I don't think civil rights is a popular issue.
In the same way that women being able to vote or black people being able to vote shouldn't be on a ballot.
Right. I would. I would.
agree.
Yeah.
I
No.
totally
I would
agree.
never. I would never vote yes or. I mean, if I was ever at if I was ever at a ballot box and, if somebody asked me if I think that one person or one group had the right to do something, and I would always most likely vote yes. I mean, like honestly, because that's just. I don't discriminate against people.
Well, okay, but what is the opposition so afraid of?
Look, this is what happened. Same-sex marriage equality has been around now for over a year. I mean, in a couple of states, it's been legal. Marriage has not changed. Your marriage has not been affected. My mom's marriage has not been affected. No marriage has been affected. Nobody's divorce has been affected. I mean, honestly, no, it hasn't. Nothing's happened. The institution of marriage hasn't fallen apart because I was allowed to get married to a man.
It's funny. I saw a cool meme the other about a year ago. It says, "If one of you is affected by gay marriage, and one of you is gay."
It's true.
Oh, it was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Any final thoughts, Jerry?
Yes. I've thought about this all my life. Thought about this choice. Would I have chosen for this for myself? Probably not. I think if I was straight, a lot of my life. Well, honestly, I think if I were straight, a lot of my life would have been way easier. Right. Do I hate being gay? Not one bit. Not at all. I absolutely love my life, my husband, and the person that I am. I try every day to walk through life and let others do what they wish. If they're not hurting me or making my life harder to live or destroying my happiness, then what is it my business what they do? I'm just glad that my parents did not decide to send me to conversion therapy.
I'm going to say, as far as the whole marriage equality, whatever you want to call it, goes, if you are a person who is spewing hatred and spewing the nonsense that marriage equality or gay marriage or the gay agenda or whatever it might happen to be, and you have been married 4 times, Rush Limbaugh,
Kelsey Grammer.
all right. Okay, there are plenty of examples of how the gay agenda and marriage equality or gay marriage, because, again, it's not real marriage, whatever. You have absolutely no standing whatsoever. And you need to stop talking about it, and you need to grow up. Or, preferably, go into seclusion. That's my rant. Scott, what do you have?
Okay.
Please keep it as PG as possible. I want to.
I got cats on my stage right now, and I'm really worried about my staging area that they're gonna take down my backdrop. So I'm a little nervous about that. Your gay agenda is nothing more than a agenda. That's exactly what it is.
So much editing.
That's exactly why I said it. Yeah, and I did say that. Yeah, you're going to go cover it up like, oh, I love gay people. I have gay people. But then you're going to talk about the gay agenda like it's some sort of evil thing that they're going into schools and saying, hey, kid, wanna come in the bathroom with me? I'll show you something cool. That's not what they're freaking doing. They're talking about equal rights for people. They're talking about equal rights for everybody. The same thing that happened with black people back in the 60s, back in the 50s. Are you freaking crazy? Muffin, can you get the cats out of here? What are you sharing with me, Jerry? I'm sorry. I love you to death, people. I do. I love you to death. But my God, you got to let this go. You got to let it go.
You have better things to worry about in society.
Yeah, there really is. And my kid's going to think, like, gosh, Dad, what are you saying in this show? That's so bad. I'm like, nothing I don't say to you.
He got a shout out like 5 minutes in. He tuned out.
Yeah, he already tuned out. No, he loves this show. Actually, he's a big
Good.
fan.
Good. Gavin.
That's because you're on the show.
Was I not supposed to say his name? Did you not say
his name? No, you can say his name.
Oh,
you can say his name. I said it's Gavin's name. Fine.
All right.
He's fine. He may be a guest. All
right, guys.
Jerry, you got to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
I got a freaking pee.
Thank you for watching Positively Godless. Look at the links below or in the screen or wherever they are. And talk to us. Bye.
Stupid. What?
That was awful.
It's still recording.
I'm not host. Hang on.
Let it go. Let it
go. That's going in the closing credits.
Oh my god, I can't even wait for that
to... the fact that it's so completely unfunny is what makes it so funny.
I don't know.